to the ring, please. Judging our Corriedale show today is Jacob Reister of Ramona, Oklahoma. Jake raises sheep full time. He raises border Leicesters, Slickshorn Dorsets, Katahdins and their registered flock, as well as a group of commercial ewes. This is Jake's fourth time to be judging here at the Big E. Let's welcome Jake Reister to your Corriedale show this afternoon. Also helping us with ribbons today is Zoe Amons of Vermont. Zoe is the national junior runner-up in the Miss Agriculture USA contest.
We got one yearling ram to talk about here. Certainly in terms of his overall framework, he's more than big enough. A good black nose, and I like his short, thick ear on him. He's got the right muzzle and hair coat. We're looking for a ram that's more than adequate about his fleece and his coarseness and consistency. I think it's more indicative of the lower third of what that breed is in terms of his fleece, and really like that about him. Good sheep to start us off.
Placing on the yearling ram class for the Corriedale show, first place goes to entry number 1536, Claycomb 24-05, Max, Rebecca Bull, Indianapolis, Indiana. That ram weighing 225 pounds. Now ready for senior ram lambs.
Your early ram class here, a big bone, super extended kind of a sheep, a real nice fleece from front to rear. He's got a little weathering to him, but he really takes and cuts a really nice profile of this sheep. Very extended. He's clean polled, good black nose on him. He's a nice place to start in our early ram lambs.
Our next class will be junior ram lambs. Placing on the class of senior Ram Lambs, first place to entry number 1537, Al Ridge Farm 2585, Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. That ram weighing 183. We're currently showing Corriedale sheep. The Corriedale breed is one of the most numerous breeds worldwide. It's a dual-purpose sheep suitable for both lamb production as well as wool production. Corriedales were developed in the 1800s almost simultaneously in Australia and in New Zealand. The parent breeds are Merino on the dam side and Lincoln Longwools on the sire side. Corriedales were first brought into the United States in 1914. First Corriedale trivia question. In 2015, 10 years ago, who exhibited the Grand Champion Ram, Grand Champion Ewe, first place get of sire, best fleece, and was premier breeder? Becky got that. It was Lightning Ridge Farm.
Nice class of Corriedale ram lambs to sort through here. Maybe not the tallest sheep at the shoulder when you step and analyze him, but in terms of his balanced design and fleece composition, head shape, and ears, he's probably the sheep that comes out and rises as the cream of the crop. I like him in terms of down over his top and through his hip. He's really good there in terms of those hooks and pins, but it's his fleece that accelerates him to the top, and he's got that bold Corriedale crimp we're looking for all the way back into his hip. Really like this ram's design up through the front 1/3 of his body in terms of the way laid back in that shoulder, yet still enough adequate bone. Big bodied sheep here in the 2-hole. This ram's in short fleece. Another good heavy fleeced kind of a sheep. He's bold in his crimp. Big brain, big frame kind of a sheep, and he's super long spined. Kind of gets under himself a tad bit when he's on the move, but in comparison to my class winner, but another good one in there to handle. The biggest frame sheep in the class by far is here in 3. I'd like to clean some of the color off him, take the knobs out of his head, but if you analyze him in his front 1/3 again, he's going to be a giraffe when it's all said and done. Super long bodied, big flat hip in him. A ram we'd like to maybe coarsen him up just a tad bit if we're getting picky. Ram here in the 4-hole is the pounds heavy sheep, probably if we get him on the scale. He's the ram that I like that outer rib shape to and really like that about him. Unfortunately, I'd like to change him behind those blades and flatten him out about his back and get him a little bit more ease of movement in terms of the way that he comes out of his hip and fills that track for us. But another good underlining ram. We got 2 more rams down here, rams that we'd like to change the fleeces in the center portion of their body, but they're really nice pattern sheep that have a lot of future.
Our next class will be pair of ram lambs. Placing on the Junior Ram Lamb class, first place goes to entry 1541, Owl Ridge Farm, 2510, Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. That ram weighing 130. Second, first and junior show to 1538, Owl Ridge Farm, 2507, Asa Johnson, Baldwin, Massachusetts. That ram weighing 148. Third place to 1542, Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. That ram weighing 166. Fourth place to 1540, Christine Humphrey, New Braintree, Massachusetts. Fifth place to 1543, also Christine Humphrey. And sixth, second in the junior show to 1539, Owl Ridge Farm, 2587, Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Placing on the pair ram lambs, first place goes to Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Second place, Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. And third to Christine Humphrey, New Braintree, Massachusetts. Now showing for Open Show Champion and Reserve Champion Ram.
Not a lot of true numbers here to talk about in your Corriedale show, but we've had some pretty good ones. I think the combination sheep for me is going to be your late ram lamb. I like him in terms of his body style, balance, and fleece. We'll come back and use the intermediate ram for reserve.
Our open show champion ram goes to entry number 1541 from the junior ram lamb class, Owl Ridge Farm, 2510, Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. The reserve went to our first place from the senior ram lamb class, 1537, Owl Ridge Farm, 2585, Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Our next will be to show for junior champion and reserve. For our junior show champion ram was 1537 from the senior ram lamb class, Owl Ridge Farm, 2585. The reserve champion goes to our animal that placed second but first in junior show in the junior ram lamb class, 1538, Owl Ridge Farm, 2507, Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Now ready for yearling ewes. So here's your next Corriedale trivia question. In 1995, that's 30 years ago, who was the Connecticut exhibitor that won 9 classes, had the reserve champion ram, champion ewe, but still lost the premier exhibitor and premier breeder awards to Merlau Farms? I think everyone out there got that. It's Sherman Franklin of Pomfret Center, Connecticut.
I'm sure if you're watching at home, there's some dissension about how this goes down, but I think in terms of that search of that Corriedale female that is really good in her type, she's really good in her fleece, she's big enough, she's round enough, yet really correct in her makeup, I think this sheep comes to the top pretty quick for me. When I pop that fleece open, she's got that low quarter blood kind of a fleece on her all the way across and down into her side. She's pretty good in terms of her rib shape. She moves clean. Every once in a while she wants to fight the young ladies in terms of her way she holds her head, but that one's a pretty good one, gang. I think that when we start analyzing Corriedale sheep, I mean, that's a potential stud sheep. You here in 2 is no midget in her own right. She is a tank of a sheep as you get back over her top. I love this ewes hip. She is really good from her hooks back into her pins, and she is really, really wide-ribbed. You like that about her. She's maybe not as clean in her movement as my ewe in 1. I think she's not quite as dark about her nose. She maybe gets a little longer-eared than that ewe that wins the class, but she's a real good one in her own right. There's a mama maker right there. You here in 3 is my problem child, and there's no decide about it in terms of you want to put and talk about who's the frame sheep of the group, the tall, long sheep of the group. You found her right here. My problem comes more in terms of her nose length and her jaw length and her ear shape for me. And then she's not quite as clean and as flexible in her movement, not quite as athletic getting about the ring as some of the other ewes. But if you want one that's just going to blow them up, this ewe's probably what everybody has to have at least 1 or 2 of in the backyard so that they can make sure that they got them to the frame scale everybody else does. This one gets you there in a hurry. She's a nice ewe. You here in 4 is a balanced sheep. You really like her in terms of her chest floor. She's elevated enough there for us. She's not as heavy a condition as the first 3 ewes. A ewe that's really got some meat and muscle to her. She's really tracks wide about her. She's got enough bone up underneath her, maybe a little softer on her pasture, not quite as clean about her fleece. Yet it is her fleece in 5. That's what gets her into the 5th hole for me. This ewe's super straight in her line. She's level made. She's good up front. She's really good in terms of her fleece from end to end. In terms of when we start weighing them up and we start talking about rib shape and pulling them apart and making them massive enough to put them into that lambing jug, this is the ewe that I get a little bit more concerned about there. I'd like to widen her out about her hooks and pins. I'd like to blow her up in terms of her chest floor and her width of her rib, but in terms of the basics, in terms of moving around, getting straight down her top and having a nice, solid, consistent fleece from end to end, she fits very nicely for us there in 5.
Next class is pair of yearling ewes. Placing on the yearling ewe class, first place goes to entry 1553, Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. That ewe weighing 211. Second place, first in the junior show, to 1551, Owl Ridge Farm, 2245, Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. That ewe weighing 224. Third to 1548, Christine Humphrey, New Braintree, Massachusetts. That ewe weighing 250. Fourth place to entry number 1552, Christine Humphrey, New Braintree, Massachusetts. Fifth place to 1547, Rebecca Bull, Indianapolis, Indiana. Sixth place to 1550, Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. and 7. Second in the junior show to 1549. Owl Ridge Farm, 2244. Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Placing on the pair of yearling ewes, first place went to Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Second place to Christine Humphrey, New Braintree, Massachusetts. And third to Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Now ready for senior ewe lambs. Here's your next Corriedale trivia question. From 20 years ago at the 2005 Big E, who was the exhibitor with the champion ram, first place in the exhibitor's flock, and first in breeder's flock, and they won the Premier Breeder and Premier Exhibitor Awards? Yep. That is correct. It was Ruth Hartman from Lime Kiln, Pennsylvania.
We got some differences here to talk about. Probably one of the more complete sheep we've had in the group here to start us off. Another big bone kind of a sheep, but she's paddles around maybe a little more off that rear end than what I'd like to see, but I think more than adequate in her movement. I like her fleece. It's clean, it's white, it's bright, really good in terms of her hook and pin structure. Maybe not quite the front end design that the ewe here in 2 does, but a ewe that handles long enough from the 13th rib. She's got enough hip shape for me. I think we're going to go ahead and use her with a good square head on her. Ewe that comes here in 2, a good clean jaw on her. She's not heavy on the wool. A ewe that certainly you like her in terms of the blade forward, man. She looks really cool. There's one of the longest handling sheep we've had from that 13th rib on back. It'll be interesting in 12 months to kind of see where she's at. I think a sheep that could continue to go on and grow. When you look up through that front end, we get all said and done, this may flip around in a very short period of time. Ewe here in 3, I love this ewe's fleece. She's bold in her crimp. She's got a stain line there in there, but if you look at the crimp design, the lock formation of this ewe, and the consistency from end to end, it's the fleece that in terms of if we're kind of sorting back for those quarter blood fleeces, and I kind of like that about her. I'd like her to be longer backed, and I'd like to get her a little more angle to her shoulder to get her up there in the front too, but I think she's got a lot of great pieces moving forward. A really well-designed ewe here in 4-hole. I like her in terms of her length of body. She's got enough rib shape to her. You like her neck and shoulder junction is up there far enough. A ewe that's maybe not quite as good in her fleece quality as the first 3 ewes, and that kind of leaves her there in that 4-hole. Ewe here in the 5-hole, another good fleeced ewe. You like her head. It's open. She has an adequate ear to her. Here's a sheep I'd just like to change her in terms of the way that she comes in, that hip and hind leg kind of designed. I'd like to square her up and give her a little bit more set to her hock and flatten her out across her top to get her cleaner in her movement, but a good fleece and good head gets her into 5-hole.
Next class is Junior Ewe Lambs. Placing on the senior ewe lamb class, first place goes to entry number 11949, Hoffman. 4125, Rebecca Kugler. Boyertown, Pennsylvania, that ewe weighed 178. Second, first in the junior show to 1561, Al Ridge Farm. 2573, Asa Johnson. Baldwinville, Massachusetts, that ewe weighing 162. Third place to entry 1559, Bull. 2502, Danson Nancy. Rebecca Bull, Indianapolis, Indiana, that ewe weighing 162. Fourth place, second in the junior show to 1557, Al Ridge Farm. 2572, Asa Johnson. Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Fifth, third in the junior show to 1558, Isley Wood. Indianapolis, Indiana. Sixth place to entry number 1563, Rebecca Bull. Indianapolis, Indiana. Seventh place to entry 1562, Christine Humphrey. New Braintree, Massachusetts. And 8 to 1560, also Christina Humphrey, New Braintree, Massachusetts.
really free moving kind of a ewe here to start the class with. Or she's probably the most correct in terms of her movement. She's really good fleece, real long topped, real long fronted kind of a sheep. I think she works pretty good in that first spot for us, and side view is just as well as she does on the move. You here in the 2 hole most like her in type and kind, maybe not quite as flashy up front. She maybe doesn't quite have as coarse a fleece, but she's a really good one too. As you look down over that top, and she's square hipped. She's got that set to her hock, moves about the ring pretty well. I think she fits there in the 2 hole really well for us. A nice moving ewe here in the 2 with the old Hot Springs type head on her. She's got that real open head to her and the longer little kind of a tipped ear on her there that you're looking at. She's got that real straight top, moves really well about the ring, really dense fleece kind of a ewe. I think from a correctness and levelness standpoint, she fits in 3 hole really good. Ewe here in 4, a ewe that you like her in terms of her build and the top shape, and you like her when you get your hands on her quite a bit. When we get her fleece down low, though, we'd like to change it up just a tad bit and move her and clean her up there just a little more. A ewe that's really flashy on the profile here in the 5 hole. A ewe that's really good in her fleece as well. I got to change her head quite a bit to move her farther up. Nice set.
Next class will be pair of ewe lambs. Placing on the junior ewe lamb class, first place to entry 1567, Owl Ridge Farm, 2581, Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. That ewe weighing 139. Second place, first in the junior show, to 1565, Owl Ridge Farm, 2506, Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. That ewe weighing 124. Third place to 1573, Rebecca Bull, Indianapolis, Indiana. That ewe weighing 124. Fourth place to entry number 1569, Owl Ridge Farm, 2589, Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Fifth, 1566 to Christine Humphrey, New Braintree, Massachusetts. Sixth place, second in the junior show, to 1568, RP Bull 2585, Pepper, Isley Wood, Indianapolis, Indiana. And seventh place to 1571, Christine Humphrey, New Braintree, Massachusetts. Next, we will show for Open Show Champion and Reserve Champion U. Placing on the class of pair ewe lambs, first place goes to Asa Johnson of Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Second place, Rebecca Bull, Indianapolis, Indiana. Third place, Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Fourth place, Isley Wood, Indianapolis, Indiana. And fifth, Christine Humphrey, New Braintree, Massachusetts.
It's not my go-to when we've got such a good group of senior sheep out here, but we're going to use the baby ewe lamb. I think there's a lot of good about that one, and she's got a diaper dandy kind of a sheep, so she's going to win. From there, it gets a lot tighter between the fall ewe lamb and the yearling ewe. We're going to take that yearling ewe. I really like that fancy fleece on that ewe. She's going to be reserve.
Those second place animals stay in the ring, and then we'll also need the junior show seconds, 1549, 1557, and 1568 in the ring to show for junior show champion and reserve. Our open show champion ewe was entry number 1567 from the junior ewe lamb class. Owl Ridge Farm, 2581, Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts. The reserve champion went to 1553. First in the yearling ewe class, Owl Ridge Farm, 2455, also Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts.
Your junior show champions. We're going to use that fall ewe lamb. I think she's pretty fancy, kind of a sheep. She's really going to grow into a nice ewe next year. We'll come back and use that second place yearling ewe. She's going to be reserve.
Junior show champion went to 1561 from the senior ewe lamb class. Owl Ridge Farm, 2573, Asa Johnson of Baldwinville, Massachusetts. The reserve champion for the junior show went to 1551 out of the yearling ewe class. Owl Ridge Farm, 2245, also Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. We're now ready for exhibitor's flock, followed by breeder's flock, get of sire, and then we'll do best fleeced Corriedale. Placing on the class of exhibitors flock, first place goes to Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Second place to Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. And third to Christine Humphrey, New Braintree, Massachusetts. Placing on the breeders flock, first place to Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Second to Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Placing on the Get of Sire, first place to Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Second place to Asa Johnson, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. And third to Christine Humphrey, New Braintree, Massachusetts. We're now ready to show for Best Fleeced Corriedale. Best Fleeced Corriedale is your next class. Final call for Best Fleeced Corriedale class. Best Fleeced Corriedale in the show goes to 1553 Owl Ridge Farm, 2455 Sarah Para, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. And our premier exhibitor and premier breeder were won by the same individual, and that's Asa Johnson of Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Asa, that's the most enthusiastic win I've seen. Great. Congratulations.